Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode 42 of Be With Me in the book of 2 Corinthians. Paul's gotten done listing this huge list of things where he's been like extreme proofs or qualifications that he's been endorsed by beatings and shipwrecks and dangers and false brothers and apostle. Now he's going to talk about something quite a bit more sweet. Listen into this. I keep thinking of a parent and a child. We'll talk about that in a second. And apart from other things, there is the daily pressure of me, or daily pressure on me of my anxiety for all the churches. Who is weak and I am not weak? Who is made to fall and I am not indignant? If I must boast, I will boast of the things that show my weakness. The God and Father of our Lord Jesus, he who is blessed forever, knows that I am not lying. At Damascus, the governor under King Aretas was guarding the city of Damascus in order to seize me. But I was let down in a basket through a window in the wall and escaped his hands. That's from 2 Corinthians chapter 11, the last couple of verses. This is the verse that really struck me. And apart from other things, there is the daily pressure of my anxiety for all the churches. Now, this is the same Paul who in Philippians chapter 4, verse 6 says, don't be anxious for anything, as he's charging the Philippians. So how does he get away with this saying here, be anxious? And I think it's like the daily pressure of parenting. So the picture I have today is a child that comes home from the bus stop, and the child is crying. And the story is the kids at the bus stop, they took my hat and they wouldn't give it back. And you tell me what parent's heart would not be broken for the pain that their child suffered, and therefore they are suffering the child's pain at the bus stop. So who's the primary person that gets offended? Is it the child or is it the parent? And where does the parent's heart stop? It really doesn't. The heart exists outside their body, for the rest of their lives after you have a child. And I think Paul is exhibiting here parental love, which is almost different and bigger and better than spousal love. So my heart is now extending from my body and goes with you. And when you are hurt, this is what he says here. When you are weak, am I not weak? And when you're made to fall, don't I take the offense? In other words, don't I get what hurts you hurts me, and who hurts you hurts me. I think that's what he's saying there. So I think the way Paul gets away with this and saying in Philippians chapter 4, don't be anxious. Don't be anxious for yourself. Don't be anxious for the things that make up your life. But I think he's saying here, as a pastor, as a person that is caring for another person, it's probably okay. It's the same word that's used, so you can't get away with that. And it means to be drawn in a different direction and to especially be anxious in care. So as you bear people, part of that is distracting care, quote unquote, distracting care, that your heart is going out with these people. So I think that the key is that if your pastor is anxious for himself, or a person in the church is anxious for himself, that's not what we're after. Now, if they're anxious for you, if their care goes outside of their body for another human being, you probably got the right guy. And then he concludes here, chapter 11. He says, from my first day of a Christian. So he says that when he was in Damascus, there was a governor there under King Aretas, who was the Nabatean king. This guy was king for 49 years, so he knew what he was doing. You remember the story. Paul's on the road to Damascus. Jesus comes to him in a big flash of light. He gets blinded. He goes to Damascus. Ananias comes and gives him his sight back, which is cool. He gets baptized, and he is shown how much he has to suffer. And then he's there some days with the disciples in Damascus, and immediately he starts proclaiming Jesus in the synagogues, proving first they're amazed, And then they get confounded because Paul was so good at this, and he proved that Jesus was the Christ. And of course, that got them all riled up, and then they start to plot to kill him. So the guy they try to kill him under is this guy, Aretas, who's the Nabatean king. And I think what he's saying is, hey, from the first day of my Christianity, so his Christianity is not described in months or years at that point. His Christianity is described in days. So from the first days of my being a Christian, I have been kind of under siege, and now with all kinds of other stuff, shipwrecks and beatings and other things. So from my first days till now, at being a Christian, I have been under persecution and circumstantial siege. And what he's going to end up doing is he's going to boast in kind of two things. I'm going to boast in my weakness, and I'm going to put forward my care, my anxiety for you, for the churches. And here it is, verse 28. And apart from other things, there is the daily pressure of my anxiety for all the churches. So Paul is saying, I am anxious, but not for me. All these things, whatever, shipwrecks and whatever, there's probably more to come. But what I am anxious for is I'm anxious for you. I'm anxious for your going to the bus stop spiritually and your weakness. Who is weak that I am not weak? Who is made to fall and I am not indignant? Okay, so I think there's a couple of teaching points. I'm going to boast in my weakness. So if your pastor is anxious for himself, that's not the guy for you. But if he's anxious for you, you've probably got the right guy. If you've got a pastor who feels the pressure and maybe some persecution and has some trials, maybe you've got the right guy. And if he boasts about his weakness, maybe you've got the right guy, because God triumphs in weakness. And if he has what I'm describing as parental anxiety for you, for the church, if he's displaying parental anxiety, that is, his heart exists outside of his body into the body of his spiritual children, you've probably got the right guy. Let's look for a guy and honor a guy who has this parental anxiety for you. Thanks for listening.